thought of a question while you were peeing or whatever, that you wanna address first before we start doing, I know we've got a couple hands.
Well, I had that question.
Yes.
I asked you about, when I was searching for a dog for my bitch to breed to, there was a comment made to me about genetics down in the line having fair hips. And they were kind of like, well, fair hips, you shouldn't, but obviously.
And my first response was, fair is not a little bit dysplastic. Fair is fair is fair. And for many, many years, it was only normal. Yeah, it was normal or not normal. So fair just means, and if you can go right on OFA, say it's just slight incongruities in the joint. But you also have to take into account when they're making these grades that these radiologists, they all have different perceptions. Or are they looking at a breed that has all excellent hips, like greyhounds or some kind of lighter breed that is, and are they looking at more of those and then they see a golden retriever? And they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to only compare them to that specific breed within the range. But we've all had OFA stories where, I had one where I thought my bitch was gonna come back an excellent. She had prelim good, and when she came back a fair, and I looked at her x-rays again, and I called Dr. Keller, because he's the one who evaluated her as a good on her preliminary report, and I said, what was the breakdown of scores that she came back a fair? Not that fair is a little, but if I got a good, I want on a prelim, I want them to come back a good on their final. And he said to me, oh, well, one gave her a mild, mildly, not even a borderline, mild. One gave her a fair and one gave her a good. So they went with fair, which was and I said, I had him pull them up on his screen. I said, do you think those hips look mild? And his response back to me was, they look good to me. And I said, how could, and he goes, that doctor is usually pretty good at evaluating x-rays. He must have had, or he, she. I said, so I had to pay again. I said, well, I want to resubmit these and have someone different evaluate them. And if it comes up the same conclusion, fine. But if not, I want to, that's not right. And he said, you cannot resubmit these x-rays. You have to go.
You have to redo them.
Redo them. And I think that's something that's a whole other seminar about the GRCA getting onto OFA, about letting us at least resubmit one time the same x-ray.
Resubmit?
You have to pay to retake it. It's like, that's not fair to me. Because one of your guys had an off day.
Right, I had a bitch. I sent him in, she came back mildly dysplastic. And it's like, huh? So I waited 6 months. I wanted to be sure I did not end up with the same panel. Waited 6 months, took her in, paid again, resubmitted. She came back a good. Now how do you go from a mildly dysplastic to a good?
And then again, and they don't do panels anymore. That was the olden days.
Yep.
Because I was around in the olden days where they rotated panels like every quarter.
Yep.
And so if you didn't like what you got back, you could just wait 3 months and reshoot them and try again, see. Now they just randomly, they've got a whole group of orthopedic radiologists that they just, you don't know where they're going. They don't know. They just randomly, because everything's on, email now. Everything's digital. So you don't know. So you could get the same person reading again if you, but and I did. I went and took them again and resubmitted because I've just had a history of having good across the board solid hips over the years. So I sent them back in and I resubmitted the new x-rays and she came back like 2 weeks later. I did it.
While you're talking OFA, do you think that, right now, I guess the requirement for hearts is auscultation. Do you think we'll ever move towards an echo?
Well, that has changed from with the GRCA, what are, now the
Okay.
gold standard is of course an echo.
So that we are required to do echoes.
We're
You're not required.
You're not required
You're
to do hips and
suggested.
elbows.
Okay.
It's just what the breed parent club to, to keep moving forward with sound, healthy dogs. These are our,
Our-
suggestion,
We suggest.
To be compliant with the code of ethics.
there isn't any,
There's no code of ethics police.
right, there's for non-compliance. They're just, they don't go after people that
Right.
breed with elbow dysplasia or a hip dysplasia, they don't crucify, you're not hung from the rafters by your fingertips. So but it's just strongly suggested that this is, if you wanna be ethical, considered ethical, this is what you wanna do.
I'm
Try
glad to
stay
know.
within these guidelines, yes.
I'm glad to know it's Echo now, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the exciting things about this has been having y'all be able to put hands on our dogs and tell us directions we ought to go. How do you not lose, what's a good strategy for not losing the good things about your dog?
That comes down to your puppy evaluation.
Okay,
Keeping the closest to perfect that you can.
Okay.
Not getting sucked in by a really pretty face.
Yeah.
Or-
Well, it's like,
That's what we all fall for those.
right, yeah. Well, I suggested to some of you yesterday, don't lose the shoulder you currently have. Even if it's not perfect layback, if there's some layback there, don't lose that. Capitalize on that. And you do that by trying to find a stud that will complement that area as well, to hopefully you move even farther.
Yeah, it's bits and pieces, and it's like I was explaining to someone, there's definitely a science to breeding. You have to do your research, you have to be scientific. There is an art to breeding. It's just being able to think, this combo, this could work. And then there's the magic fairy dust that sometimes hits us, and you get it, and you go, yes. And then the whole thing is to move on with that and keep going. Capitalize on that. Don't go backwards. Don't say, oh, but this dog, he's won 20 best in shows, and everybody else is breeding to him. So I need to breed to him because I'm gonna get magic.
Now, you breed to what helps your program,
Yeah.
not what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, it's like I said, thinking outside the box and being your own independent person. That's gonna make you a better breeder.
And I don't care if that dog you're looking at is in somebody's backyard that's never seen a show ring before in its life. If that dog has what you need, that's who you breed to.
Yeah, because you'll see in some pedigrees, there's what people call holes. It's not a champion, or it's not a mock or a notch or whatever, but find out somebody who knew that dog. That's what I did. When I had my foundation bitch, had some really big, impressive dog names in her pedigree. She also had a lot of holes, I was told. But my original mentor, she knew. Those were like local bitches. And she knew them. She knew the people that owned them. She knew the bitches. And so I said, okay, well, what happened with this one? Well, that one, lovely bitch, good temperament. And most of them had points or something, but they were never finished. Well, this one, the lady had alcohol issues, and it just kind of, the bitch ended up falling through the cracks and wasn't completed. Somebody else further back, she was a wine person, and she thought, oh, I want to get a golden. And she showed her, and she got a few points on her, and then she was like, you know what? It's a lot easier to just walk my wine into a ring prepping with a golden retriever, so she bred her. And then somebody else used one of her offspring to breed down the road. So that doesn't necessarily say what the quality of the bitch was, just because she wasn't finished. So there's lots of reasons why dogs don't finish. I have a 4-year-old boy, he'll be 4 in December. He's not finished yet. He probably has about 12 litters on the ground already, and been bred to grand champion bitches and champion bitches. Because, first of all, he looks a little different from what's out in the ring, and what do we always say? Sometimes the most different looking dog could be the most correct dog in the ring. And I think just because of my pedigrees over the years, people have felt comfortable using him, and knowing that I will. But I got his first points were 2 majors, specialty majors from bred by. So I'll be damned, I'm gonna finish him from bred by at specialties. So that's why he's not finished yet. But that's why I'm saying, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have something wonderful to contribute to the gene pool, because he doesn't have a CH in front of his name. He does have his junior hunter title, so he has proven that he will swim and go out and pick up birds and bring them back to hand. So that's to Pat's point right there. You know, if it's a good, honest dog that might, you know, that has good, honest dogs behind them, there's no reason why you have to be stuck on breeding to a grand champion, or that may not make your breeding program move forward. It might keep it right in the same place.
Or it may take you backwards.
Yeah. So
Now you've lost ground.
right. So that's the whole thing, is keep at least what you have, and just keep going forward with it and eking through it, and you'll get there. You'll get there. That's like the big thing is, a head, you can put a head on in a generation. Yeah, you can, but this structural stuff takes time. It just takes time, and you keep building off of what you have. There's nothing that's so tragic that it can't bring something nice to the table.
How important is it to you when you look at pedigrees, though, to see dogs with titles showing that they've been in the field? I mean,
All right, I'm gonna tell you something, how I feel about alphabet soup, okay? That's the owners. It has nothing to do with the talent of the dog. These golden retrievers, you can train them to run straight lines 300 yards. You can, you know, in obedience, it's just very repetitive training. That doesn't impress me that much. I mean, I'm impressed with the owner and their dedication to putting in the time with their dog and training and, you know, doing all, and that's a journey. That's a wonderful journey, and I've done it plenty of times. But it doesn't tell you, all it does is that dog could be trained to do that. And yes, we're supposed to have biddable, smart dogs in our pedigrees. But that's more a testament to what the owner wanted to put into that dog. Some of us have, you know, that have breeding programs. We have a lot of dogs in our house. I have 9 dogs at my house. I mean, 3 are spayed and retired, neutered. But I don't have the time I had when I had 3 Goldens, when I had my foundation, and I went and played every game with her, and titled in everything that you could title in back then, except for field trials. So that was before scent work and dock diving and all, you know, they were just the standard AKC, obedience, tracking, agility, you know, and hunt test titles. But, now I've lost my, but about the, you know, it's,
All the titles.
it's about the time that somebody has and the resources. It's not cheap to do all this stuff. I mean, hunt tests, it's very expensive just to even enter. And then you have judges that are skewed towards a certain breed of retriever against another breed of retriever in the field venues that might mark a little lower. You know, instead of judging it, how would a golden retriever take this mark, as opposed to how a lab, you know, labs are built like, you know, just something went down, just race to it. Get there as fast as you can, as fast as you can. Goldens are thinkers. They're smart dogs. They're going to take the quickest route, and it might not be through the water, you know, to get to that bird. But then they're going to ding that dog, the judges will, and not carry it through to the next series. because the golden was being smarter
Mhm.
than the
The
judges.
handler.
Yeah. And, so that's when, it's very impressive to see these, just generation after generation after generations of ox and mocks, otches and mocks and, all that kind of stuff. But besides bringing the trainability or the enthusiasm to the table, what else is that dog? What can that dog bring to the table? That's what you need to look at too. That's why I say it's a science, it's an art, and there's a little sprinkling of fairy dust in there to, get where you want to go. So, yes.
Short question.
Yes.
I've always been told that a cowhawk dog is going to lead into hip dysplasia. Is that an old wives' tale? Listening to you, it's all of balance and structure.
I don't know what the genotype is for hip dysplasia. I can't tell you, and neither can OFA, unfortunately. And I bring this point up all the time. We've been breeding phenotypically what you can see, take a picture of and see, but it has nothing to do with the DNA and chromosomes of that dog. And there's, and so we may have been increasing or decreasing the incidence of dysplasia through screening our dogs and breeding only clear dogs. Then why do you still, everybody still, you may not know, but I bet if every one of your puppies was x-rayed, there'd be one that was mild or borderline. The thing is, I think we've lessened the incidence of crippling dysplasia by screening so heavily, but I still produce puppies with dysplasia. Like I said, thankfully nothing crippling, but if it was easy to figure out, we would have figured it out by now. We wouldn't need to be still screening.
Right.
So you just want to start with the best you can and hope for the best. And hope you don't send a puppy home and it's crippled at 4 months old, and it happens. And it's not the breeder's fault, unless they're purposely, breeding ridiculous hips. But, so I don't know that. And again, cowhawks, that's not so much a bone situation as it is the infrastructure around the bone that's weaker. The ligaments and tendons and stuff like that would create, that's the most comfortable way for that dog to stand. So, any other questions?
All right, why don't we get those dogs in here and get some hands on them? That you don't always necessarily have to put your hands on a dog in order to see some or good layback, okay? If the neck into the top line looks like an L, it doesn't have layback. So as you look at these dogs, keep that in mind. Look at the underline to determine, gee, is that dog maybe shorter back or shorter in body than the one in front or behind?
Yeah, this is great, because this is really what it looks like in a dog show.
That's right. When I'm standing in the middle of the ring and I look down the line, this is typically what I could see. And my first impressions when I walk in a ring and see a line like this, I'll say, yep, no, yep, no, until I put my hands on that dog to verify what I see with my eyes, or don't see with my eyes.
Okay, since you are the AKC judge here and I am not, why don't you walk down and just start about what your initial impressions are as you're looking.
Okay.
Like your yep, no. And just, and this is not to hurt anybody's feeling, this is just.
This is a learning thing, okay? So don't take anything to heart as far as somebody's disking your dog. When I look at this first dog, right off the top of my head, I kind of like her head. Yeah, I think I see some shoulder angulation in here. Yeah, she might be a little on the long side, but I can live with that. Let's move on to the next dog. I look at this dog and I say, yeah, That's a pretty decent bitch head. I can live with that. Not as much shoulder angulation in there. Wonder what that's about. I'll find out when I put my hands on her. I come to this next dog, and I say, well, she's not as full-bodied as maybe the one that's in front of her. Could be age difference. Could be a lot of different things. Do I like her head? Well, maybe not as much as the dog in front. But we'll check that out when we get our hands on this bitch. I come down to this one, who's being a bad girl.
It's like I stood too long.
Fix her rear there, sir. You wanna win in this class, you gotta prevent your bitch running. And now, I have a question on this dog, because of handler error.
That happens a lot.
So, when I go over this dog, there will be things I may do different with this dog than I might with any of the others. Okay, but she's still a good specimen. In spite of him. Then I come down to the last dog, and I say, well, this one doesn't have quite as much bone or substance as some of the others. Will I use her or not? I don't know yet. So I come up to my first dog, and if you watch my hands, you tell me what I feel. I hope you all can see this. If you can't, move down.
Yeah, come over here, or come in the ring. Here, because we're gonna have you putting.
Obviously, we're pressed for room, so I won't even go over the heads on these dogs. I wanna do body structure.
That's, yeah, heads.
Yeah, heads are heads, and it's what you prefer.
Yeah.
So, after I go over the head, I'm gonna come down, and I'm gonna do this, and I'll go, So I just put my hands on the top of that dog's scapula. I come down here, and I look to that point of the shoulder, which is here, and I will do this. And if any of you ever watch my hands, I will show you what I'm feeling. Is this angle correct, or close to correct? Anybody want to answer that?
Yeah.
It is.
Pretty close.
Can you see that? Can you see that angle?
It's almost straight.
Then I'll come down. Yep, elbows are close to the rib cage. Loin is a little long, but not terrible. Slightly sloping croup. Tail's the right length. Nice short hock. Good bend to stifle. There's maybe somebody I'm going to be able to use when I put these dogs out. And I'll do the same with the next dog. I know, honey.
Nice.
I'll come down. How does my hand go? Along this, between the shoulder, the neck, the shoulder to the top line. This bitch happens to have a few little fat rolls. Like the rest of us. Okay, but her shoulder is there, the top of her shoulder. And then I come to the point here. And then I come back here. Can you guys see that angle?
Yeah.
Okay, what do I have here?
She's got it at her shoulders.
Shout out.
A little more, that's right, more upright shoulder than this bitch. And then I'll continue, you know, nice spring of rib. Now this bitch is longer in the loin than this bitch. There's a reason for that, and you all know that I said could be tip of pelvis, whatever, because they're all born with the same number of vertebrae. And I'll continue, length of hock, this one's longer than that one, croup is okay, move on. And I will continue to do that with every single dog, okay?
And
Here's
this
this one.
is just the hands-on, and then there's a reason we have movement as well, because some dogs use themselves better than what their parts, you know, their athleticism, or, you know, so that's an important thing as well.
Okay, there's my hand on his shoulder. And again, you see a common theme here?
Yeah, the shoulders up.
It's very upright.
But the length of the upper arm is good. Upright shoulder, good length of upper arm, good return. Okay? This one is maybe not quite as angle. No, upright here, honey. This one is a little
More upright as well.
correct. Okay?
I'm just helping you.
That's fine. Point it out. Now we have the one with the bad handler.
I'm so glad you're next to me, Chris.
I live to make everybody else look bad.
Here's the point of the shoulder, or the top of the scapula, to the point of the shoulder, back to the elbow, can't find it, back to the elbow again. So you have that. That's pretty nice compared to the one in the front too. A little bit better maybe than the two in front of him. And you go, and you do that whole same thing all the way down through. And then we have my girl that doesn't have quite as much bone or substance, but there's her shoulder, okay? There's the point of the shoulder there, of the upper arm and back. Now what do we got again? Okay, upright shoulder, but the return is there, okay? So then I would move these dogs. There she go. Oh, no.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. Okay, now, this dog had a more upright shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But tell me if you saw if this dog was reaching and had what you might consider good foot timing.
She's reaching with her elbow.
Shout it out, don't be afraid.
Yeah, this,
I thought so.
okay, the reason for that, reason she did not have interference between the rear and the front, is because she's longer in body.
Yeah.
Had she been shorter, then she would have had interference because of that upright shoulder. Because this bitch has moderate bend of stifle. It's not an overdone rear. Okay.
She does have good length of leg under her body, even though she's a little longer cast. She's not
Squatty.
squatty, what we see in a lot of
Right.
Goldens.
And this length here allows her to move the way she moves, which tricks a lot of our all-rounder judges. Okay? So, I know I've told some people that have a dog with an upright shoulder, I'll say, take it to an all-rounder, you'll finish it. Because they don't understand,
The function behind these dogs.
okay? And I'll tell you, never take it to a breeder judge. Okay? Let's try this one. Get out of
I'm
the way.
gonna keep sliding this down so we can watch each other.
She wants to play.
You do obedience with her?
Yeah.
As you all know, obedience dogs like to look at us.
Yeah.
Let's try circle.
She did that yesterday too. When she would start hopping in the rear because she caught up to her front too fast.
Yep. Yep. And she does, but she also has an upright shoulder. But it was a different, those two with upright shoulders moved differently.
Because of length of body.
Right. And whether we're gonna sneak another meal.
Looks like we could use a little more obedience.
Move that one.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty clean, coming and going. Do we have a go around, sir, please? Let her drop her head.
See how prettier it looks? And they're just moving without this.
She's good at it.
So, we have any comment here?
Other than the handler?
We'll disc the handler.
I'm trying not to leave her with the leash.
That's all right. Now, noticed on this one, when she was coming back, she was kind of... Right. And she shouldn't have been. I mean, this is what I would say, and I might have said this to you during the CCA, she would be what I would call on the low end of moderate as far as bone and substance. There's no way that she should have been moving
Yeah.
like this.
Like a clunkier, what you would think of as a clunkier dog.
Right.
Do you
Now,
think it's my handling that's making it worse? I mean, since
No.
I don't do
She
any.
doesn't, she's not understanding, you're asking her to just move alongside you in a straight line, to look into you for instruction.
right.
And it's a lot of that's muscle memory. You know, they get really, once you've started teaching spelling, it's hard to get that dog to just
All gone.
look out ahead of them.
Go,
Because
right.
they're so conditioned and their muscles are so, such memory to this way.
Right, and it's tough with obedience dogs
Yeah.
to get them to move correctly because
Yeah,
they're
it
taught
is.
to be here. They're not taught to be out there and planing out.
Looking for a bird out there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why you want the dog's head to plane down off of their, neck and focusing in front of them, not what you're asking them to do. And that's why when you try and move obedience dogs, that's why they do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead and try a circle.
Okay, here we go. Go, look.
Very good, yay. Okay, does anybody want to make any comment on what you saw with this small demonstration on this group of dogs? You guys can line back up if you wish. Now I'm gonna let you guys play judge. You just watch what went on. You have in your mind what you saw and what I tried to point out to you when I went over these dogs. I want you to place these dogs. Somebody want to volunteer to get hung? Like I do every weekend, I go out there and judge.
Well, and I want you guys to feel
Yeah.
the differences. I want you to come in and put your hands on.
Let's do that first. Yeah.
Because it's not fair for you to place dogs that you haven't put your hands on.
Well, it would be interesting though,
Yeah.
to
Replace them
to place them first.
And,
And, you know, even if it's only in your mind, and then you come out here and you put your hands on these dogs and see if
it's the same.
what you see is what you feel. Because remember, we had a dog in here that fooled you on its movement. Okay?
I'm brave enough to say, I think you would put that one first.
Which one?
The first one.
First one? Okay.
Well, yeah, but it's not what she would do. What would you do?
What would you do?
I'll do mine.
Go ahead.
Okay, I would do this one first, that one second, Marlo's third, this one fourth, and that one fifth.
Okay?
Exactly what I would have done. too.
Okay.
Okay,
Anybody?
now everybody's chiming in.
Given me, I would have had to really thought hard on.
I would rank this one and that
The
one.
first one and the fourth one.
Yeah, those two.
All right, what would have been, tell me.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
We're,
tell?
we're, no.
She said that she would have a hard time between.
Deciding
I
between the
like
two.
forefront, the chest on the fourth. More
All right.
so than here,
Okay,
but I can't feel it.
But is it hair?
They haven't felt it yet.
Yeah.
right.
And,
So
but then
that,
I'm a big one for the heads too, so.
okay, but what's your overall impression? Keeping in mind what a golden retriever was bred to do, why they were created, and just singling out these two, the fourth dog and the first dog.
The movement on this one for sure. I like the movement.
Okay.
I don't know how you describe it, but the neck coming back down here, about the top line.
The neck and the shoulder, the blend of neck and the shoulder.
Blend of neck and shoulder.
Okay, now, so now you're picking apart, what's your overall impression?
As a package, as a total
As
package.
a whole thing, not playing Mr. Potato Head, that I want like this one, that one better, but this whole package. Yeah. What, and keeping in mind what the golden retriever is, yeah, she's. Okay, but this is a good, why don't we bring, just because of a little different hat, why don't we bring these two bitches just a little bit out front? So that they can be over there.
She just got better.
Okay, so now you've really got a good comparison here of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Better handle
Well, but,
No.
so, overall, as a package, and thinking about what the golden retriever is bred to do, now, what are you thinking? What do you see that might benefit a dog out in the field? What do you see?
It has more prosternum.
Mhm.
I mean, without feeling, that's just what you can see.
Okay,
I don't know if it does.
What is the
The
prosternum?
prosternum
do?
is meant to break that water barrier and be help with buoyancy. And so,
Well, because there isn't a water barrier unless there's ice.
Unless there's ice. But like if you're,
But they're not the Titanic, they're not.
They're not.
Latin, birds were bred in.
Yeah.
You know, they do retrieve fowl from
Yeah.
icy waters. So that is a different function from a golden. But, overall, not picking on, just overall, what do you see? Overall, what do you think, you know, like their proportions to do what their job is?
I will say that I like the substance and bone on this dog with the head that is able to carry a bird well.
Okay.
This one's a little bit smaller. I do like the front on this one a little bit. It's got a better return of arm. That layback looks beautiful. Her return of upper arm is a little bit further forward. Her croup into her tail set is not as flat as this one right over here. At least that's what it appears from here. And
Okay,
not
and
from
what
herself.
does the tail do? What's the tail's function when they're retrieving?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about retrieving,
What does the tail do when they're doing their job?
well, it's more the flat, it's all around the whole rear, right over the hips. From here is what it looks
That's,
like.
well, but I'm just asking you in general, what does the tail do?
Isn't it counterbalance?
It's
It's a
a rudder.
rudder.
It's in the water, okay.
That's what helps with their steering.
it's a rudder.
Okay, so just keeping into account, you know, they're supposed to have a muscular tail because it's gonna help them in their swimming and their steering. But overall, I'm just saying, and these are two different style golden retrievers. They're two different styles. They're both very nice representatives of the breed, but they're not cookie cutters.
Can you distinguish their different reasons why they're different styles?
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right, substance-wise is a big thing right off the bat.
Yep.
This one's like, if you look at the feet, she's got bigger feet. She's got more substance to her than this one. But this one, you have a good substance. It's not fine boned at all. But it's not, and it's,
So would you call that moderate?
this is what I see is kind of right in the middle of, it's in the middle. It's not a lot, not a little, just kind of right there. And what's the big, but now we also have word powerful in our breed standard in the first paragraph, active. You know, so you wanna look at, and it's, again, this comes down to preference. To me, if I'm a hunter and I'm taking my dog out in the boat with me and everything,
You're going.
this is gonna be easier to clean up when I get home.
Yes.
But it still has furnishing. I can see, it's got hair. It's got hair, it's got a pretty tail, just like that one has a pretty tail. So that's what I want you to start thinking about, is what they're bred to do. Not that most of us do that with them anymore, but, and she's gonna be able to go in the water, but her coat, if you look at her coat a little, it's a little softer right here. So if you don't put some Pam or something in that before you spray Pam, before you go out in the field with her, it's not gonna be as much fun to clean her up after being in the field than it is to a dog with a coat like this. This dog has a little bit harsher texture to her coat than this dog. But this dog can certainly go out and do what it's bred to do. But if I'm just looking at the overall picture, and even though this dog's a little darker, like our field golden, she doesn't strike me as a field golden. She has a proportionate head, she's overall balanced. This bitch is balanced. She's got a little more rear angle, but she's got a little more up front too. When you're looking, this also looks balanced. She's got more hair under her belt, more, you can just see. So you can see how illusions can skew your perceptive. So you wanna come in and put your hands on these two and feel the difference in their coat texture. Feel their shoulders, feel their loins, all of that. And then we're gonna bring some other ones up for you to feel also. So come on in. Come on in. Because I would say these are structurally two of the most similar in the ring, wouldn't you say, Pat?
Yes.
But they're different styles.
Exactly.
And we all have, what beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, Chris.
Let me get rid of this.
Here, Amanda, you can.
Yeah, you can do this.
Yeah, you know how to crack a dog up. And let Pat go.
Let Pat have not.
Okay, what you wanna do, say, when you come down through here, stop here, point here at the top of the scale.
You feel that will repel,
Here.
and it says they should have a harsher outer coat. But we're not talking like a terrier coat or anything, but there's a difference. And then they have, she doesn't have as much undercoat right now because she.
Just show it to yours.
That's coat jeans. A lot of people want that hair. But if you're breeding to the standard, there's an in-between place, just in between, and no extremes.
Laying on the couch watching Netflix.
You still get a nice, smooth transition
The
between
point
here
is,
and here.
you don't feel the tips of
Your hand doesn't get stuck.
That's called laying, okay? They can
Like
have,
it would with,
a shoulder, but if that tip is just a little more
even though we've got
up
the two that
in
we
the
feel
air,
the most correct
it's
with
just,
these dogs.
it doesn't have as much.
Down,
movement.
turn around.
It doesn't mean
Same
it's
with this girl.
upright. Okay, these are all like those small nuances.
Alright.
When I go down, I don't wanna, I just wanna, not slowly, you just wanna glide right over it. And then you glide, and then you go, okay, now I find it. Right there.
See, you're always going too far.
Too far, okay.
I have a shoulder.
Yes.
Well, she is kind of.
Because
I'll give you that. Very good.
you wanna go down, remember, we're putting our dog weight on. On this side, generally, you want the length of rib to be 2/3.